The federal government has come out to throw its weight behind moves by herdsmen to sue southern governors over the anti-open grazing bill they recently signed into law. The Special Assistant on Media to the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Dr. Umar Gwandu, disclosed this in a statement made available to newsmen, saying Nigerians whose rights had been violated could go to court to seek protection. Most southern states, including Lagos, Ondo, Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, Abia, Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Enugu, and most recently Delta and Ogun State, signed the anti-open grazing bill into law. The Miyetti Allah Kautal Hure group, while reacting to the passage of the law in the southern state, described it as satanic and politically motivated, adding that it would sue the governors over the law. Former chairman of Nigerian Bar Association Ikeja branch Adeshino Ogunlona sees this action as a welcome development as against violence against the southern governors.
As a lawyer, I'm excited when people say they want to resolve issues by going to court. They didn't say we are going to carry machetes. They didn't say they will carry bazookas. They didn't say they will bomb southwest or southern Nigeria. They say that they will go to court, and that the Attorney General of the Federation said the federal government is backing them. I will ordinarily not read meanings into that. The meaning of Attorney General, attorney for all, so is the chief law officer of the Federation. He believes that what the southern governors are doing or have done is unconstitutional, and he has a duty to preserve the Constitution and to advise the president of the country to preserve the Constitution. This is good. It's a part of law. It's not the deployment of mobile policemen or deployment of military to support the herders, for example. So to me, there's nothing that it's not troubling at all.
The question now is, do the herdsmen have any legal standing? These legal practitioners do not think so.
It's a case that is dead on arrival, because you cannot challenge governors that have invested with the legal right to hold land for their people. And once the governor says, this is what I want to use it, the governors have been entrusted. Every governor of a state is entrusted on how to use land, according to the Land Use Act. So for some people, some funny characters somewhere saying they are going to the court to sue the southern governors, well, I will only say it's payday for some lawyers, some of our colleagues, and we love those kind of cases. But then, I can easily tell you it is an exercise in futility. It's dead on arrival. Because are you challenging the fact that the governors cannot make such a declaration? And they didn't just make the declaration, they made it through the House of Assembly that have now legalized it.
The elders trying to sue the governors of the Southwest, they have not sought what we call in law wise counsel. They have not been properly advised. These governors have made law in their own state by the provision of Section 4 sub 7 of the Nigerian Constitution that they have power to make law to govern their own state. So they have made law. It is not by proclamation. It is not by executive order. They have made a law. Those laws have been signed. It becomes a law. So if you feel or you think that you cannot abide by that law, then leave. There's no problem about it. So going to court to challenge those laws or to sue them from stopping them from doing their business or any other thing, I think by Section 45 of the Constitution, if you say you have a fundamental right to do this, to do that, those things cannot be challenged in court if a law has been made with, I want to use the words of the Constitution now, with reasonable understanding that it will boost public security, public health, and it will not allow the country the state to degenerate. So you can't challenge those laws if they are not against the express provision of the Constitution.
The suspicions of Northern agenda, or as it were, Fulani agenda, raised its ugly head again.
In fact, the Attorney General does not even have the power to sue the people in the south, to back up the north, to sue the people in the south against their own laws. They don't even have that kind of power. The constitution does not have, does not give that power to the attorney general, even the north. They don't have the jurisdiction. They don't have the local standard to sue and say that you cannot make laws in your own state. We have a sort of sovereignty in the states. You understand? So and the federal government cannot just go and say this law that you are making in the state is against the interests of the federal government. No, make your own law that will supersede that of the state and see how it works. That is the situation. So what the Attorney General is doing is in fact is pursuing shadows and then against tackling the substance that is this insecurity in the nation.
In the first instance, the elders are not speaking for themselves. The federal government asked them to do so. Because if the federal might can be thrown at the southern governors over laws enacted called the anti-grazing open law, then it is the federal government that is speaking, not the headers. In this wise, the southern governors haven't done the needful. Where the court will have jurisdiction will not be determined by Attorney General. It will be determined by the respective houses of assemblies that passed that anti-grazing bill into law. What it means now is this: they are going to have scattered cases which cannot have jurisdiction in Abuja. They will have to sue the governor of Oyo State separately, Ondo State separately. But that is not the issue. All of these are distractions. The federal government, or rather the president himself, has an agenda to encroach on lands, whether given to him lawfully or unlawfully. He's determined to do so. He's very much determined to do so. And you could see it from many of his actions. The water resource bill, the grazing reserve routes, and the Ruga that was gazetted even before Nigerians knew of it. So these are agendas that they want land, whether we like it or not, for Fulani herders.
What does these actions from the herders and federal government mean for the security architecture of the southern states and the country at large? A security expert, Colonel Hassan Stanlabo, retired, says their action is drawing the country closer to a breaking point.
In the first place, there's nothing wrong in the headsmen taking the southern governors to the courts. The court is always the arbiter. When there are issues between two parties, we expect the court to come in, or the court is the likely place where you go there to resolve these such issues, and so on. But what becomes a bit disturbing to me as an ordinary citizen is the pronouncement of the federal government, because we must be very objective and frank with ourselves. We are operating in an environment now, today, where citizens are already losing confidence in our leadership. What does that connote to the ordinary man? When I mean that, I mean the action of the federal government trying to throw its support behind the headsmen. I'll tell you that it only goes to further strengthen the allegation out there, or the impression out there, that governments both at national and state level are complicit in our state of insecurity in this country. Simple. Against the backdrop of amnesty for, what do you call them, insurgents or bandits, this, that, and that, and so on. You begin to wonder, are you sure this government is really fighting terrorism? Are you sure? Are we sure we are on the same page with those who should be taking final decisions on actions to be taken over terrorism and banditry in our country? Or we are on different pages?
The retired colonel also opined that the best way the southern governors can achieve the anti-open grazing law and prosecute offenders is if governors have their own security framework. In other words, State Police.
You see, the absence of what I will call the instruments of coercion at the state level in the hands of the state governments, that is to say, the absence of state police, simply put, and so on, leaves a huge gap. And that gap, like it exists now that states are becoming more and more conscious of the fact that they are federating states and they have some leverage when it comes to exercising their rights as federating states. I hope you are aware that states are becoming more and more alive to that. You can look at the VAT issue and so on. The earlier we begin to take certain steps to fill up such gaps, I just don't want to use the word restructuring, because once you use restructuring, everybody gives it its own meaning. So let's just be piecemeal about it. The earlier we begin to take certain steps to fill up such gaps that will not allow for complete escalation of violence. Because I must tell you, we are sitting on the time bomb. This country is sitting on the time bomb.
According to the headlines of a 22nd December 2020 publication by Financial Times, Nigeria is at risk of becoming a failed state. The President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government has less than 2 years to prove that publication wrong and change the narrative of his administration. For Galaxy Television News, Solomon Ofem reporting.